Assalamu Alaikum, sisters. Welcome to my podcast, Muslim Teenagers Connection to Islam in 2025. Today, I'll be speaking with a neighbor from my community.
Go ahead.
Assalamu Alaikum. For privacy reasons, could you please introduce yourself anonymously?
Introduce myself anonymously?
Yes.
Okay, are you recording me?
Yes.
Okay. But you're not going to use the recording to, show it to others, right? Just for yourself?
Yes, I will be showing it, but you will remain anonymous.
अच्छा, so you will be using my audio?
Yes.
अच्छा, ठीक है. तो फिर मैं कहीं और जाकर बैठूं तो बच्चे चीखेंगे.
Okay, sure.
या फिर मैं ऊपर से आ रही हूँ. Good, ये सही है. Very good. बाकी सारे letters ही हैं. So, Aiza, what do you want me to say about me?
You can just introduce yourself, what you do, your courses.
Acha, ठीक है. So as just stuff related to religion or normally as well, like what I've done.
You can do religion and normally.
ठीक है. And you don't want me to take my name, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Walaikum assalam. I am an architect by profession, so I've studied architecture. I've done my bachelor's in architecture. And then recently I have done my ijaza in Hafs and Asim. That's one way of reading the Quran. And I have been a student of Quran and different sciences of Quran. That includes grammar, balagha, and recently I've started my Alamiya degree.
Jazakallah khair. Let's begin the question and answer portion of the interview. Just before that, thank you for taking the time to speak with me today. And I'd like to go over some questions. But first, I would like to ask for your permission to record this interview, and the recording will be used solely to help me accurately remember your responses while writing my capstone project. If you are not comfortable with being recorded, that is completely fine, and I can take handwritten notes instead. Second, the information you share will only be used for a school assignment focused on Muslim teenagers' connection to Islam in 2025, and the purpose of this interview is to understand different perspectives and not to judge anyone or evaluate any belief or experience. Third, everything you share will remain completely anonymous. Your name and any identifying details will not be included in my project, and if you mention anything personal or sensitive, it will be kept private. In my final paper, I will refer to you only in general terms such as community member or working professional, so your identity cannot be traced. You are free to skip any question or stop the interview at any time. There are no right or wrong answers. I simply am interested in your honest perspective. Before we continue, do I have your permission to proceed with the interview, and if you are comfortable to record our conversation?
Yes.
Okay. Question number 1. How has your personal struggle, whether emotional, financial, or spiritual, affected your relationship with Islam?
I need to write it down because there are a lot of sub-questions in that question, okay?
Yes.
So tell me the very first one that you asked.
How has your personal struggle?
Okay, first one is personal. Give me all of them together.
Whether emotional, financial, or spiritual, affected your relationship with Islam?
Okay. So first of all, I would say everything has definitely, I have become a better person over time. So whether it was emotional, financial, or spiritual, all of these things have made my connection stronger with my religion. And I think age is one of the factors, factors that really, I would say key. It's one of the key factors is that as you grow old and as you grow up, there are things that you realize, things become clearer to you. Your life becomes clearer, your goals become clearer. So definitely you start thinking more about religion and your creator. Emotional, if you would say. Yes, definitely. emotions have played a very important role in making me closer to my creator, my religion. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even in the Quran, he says that he is going to test us to see that which of us are going to pass the test and which of us are going to fail the test. So emotions play a very important role in being closer to Allah. And it's generally said that all the trials and tribulations that happen in your life, they bring you closer to Allah, right? So emotions do play a very important role. Financial, yeah, definitely. Even fine, because finances, again, they are another trial from Allah, right? So if there is a financial struggle, definitely it makes people pray more. It makes people think about their life choices more. So they do help bring people closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For me personally, I haven't experienced that like a lot, alhamdulillah. Like even if maybe in somebody's eyes they would say that, oh, something financial happened, but for me I never see it that way. Financial struggles, I have a very strong belief in Allah that whatever comes my way, He has decreed it, and I'm happy with that. Talking about spirituality, it's something that I have recently started feeling in my heart. Like you can read Quran, you can know about your religion, you can grow in your knowledge and everything, but spirituality is something that you need to keep yourself in constant touch with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to feel that spirituality within you. And I have very recently, I would say just past 1 week, I would say, started feeling that. And I'm actually very happy, although that spirituality kind of makes you cry at things, but I'm happy, alhamdulillah, for that. So yes, all three of them, I've experienced them and they play a very important role.
Okay. Thinking back to your teenage years, what factors helped or hurt your connection with faith at that time?
So I would say constant reminders were something that helped me, but not in my teenage years. That is something that I realized later in my life. But reminders from my grandmother, I would say one thing that I vividly remember is her asking me, not really asking me to wear a hijab, but she would very nicely give me reminders that if in a wedding she would see some girl observing hijab, she would always point out and say, look, she's looking so nice. So in a very indirect manner, she always used to give me good motivation. I did not take it well at that time. You would say, like, I would always brush it off and I would say I will wear hijab when I'm comfortable. I will wear hijab when I want to, because it is something between me and my Rabb, right? I'm not going to wear hijab if somebody asks me to wear hijab. So these were my obvious teenage answers. You can tell I was a teenager. But definitely those reminders, they stuck with me, and when the time was right, they were there. They were there at the back of my mind, and I did start wearing hijab. Is there any other thing that you said? Something in the teenage years that helped me, and what?
And what factors helped or hurt your connection with faith at that time?
Hurt, I wouldn't say that there was anything that hurt my connection, but I would say that our household, also like the extended family and the immediate family, and I think it doesn't only have to do with immediate relatives and my parents and all. I think it was the norm of the society back then that religion was just that you are fasting and you're praying, and that's it, I think. If you are fasting and you're praying, we used to consider ourselves so pious. We used to think that, oh wow, okay, because I pray and because I fast, I have a ticket to Jannah. That was our Islam when we were growing up. So I cannot blame my parents for that, because they didn't know any better, right? They didn't have the resources to study themselves. So that was the kind of Islam that was portrayed. But if you'd ask me, one thing that I would have wanted when I was growing up was a good Islamic education. That obviously my parents also did not have, so they weren't able to give it to me.
Okay. What do you think makes it especially difficult for Muslim teens today to stay connected to Islam when they face hardships?
When they face hardships. So, generally, if we minus the hardship perspective, I would say that the teens are they want to spend their time in things that are not beneficial to them, first of all, and they don't realize it. It's not their fault. It's the fault of the elders or who are taking care of them, who are around them, and it includes parents as well as grandparents, because grandparents, I feel that they play a very important role in bringing kids closer to their religion, because they don't have the other responsibilities that the parents have, right? Like the parents, they have to make sure that their kids are doing their homework and they're home on time, and all the other things that go around in the house. If you know whether it's an assignment that they have to submit, whether parents, they have to take them somewhere, whatever is happening in their lives. But once the kids are with their grandparents, the grandparents are not responsible for all of these things, right? They don't have to think about homework, they don't have to think about picking them up and what time are they coming and planning their week and all of that. So I think they have a very good opportunity to connect with their grandkids. But unfortunately, I think some of them probably do that. Like my grandmother was very present, and she was the one who gave me the very basic Islamic knowledge, and I learned so many du'as from her. My parents, obviously, they did not have that kind of time because they were the parents. So now when I have kids, and I am the mom and I am that busy person, I would have loved for my parents to have that kind of connection with my kids. So I would say minus the hardship aspect of that, important thing is that the kids, they don't realize what is important, what's not important. Or I would say to just balance deen and dunya. That's what I would say, because you cannot expect a teenager to not play their games. You cannot expect them to not spend time. And for example, if it's a girl and she loves baking, she would want to spend time doing that, right? We cannot expect her to just read Quran all the time and be spiritually connected, because kids, at the end of the day, they are kids, right? We cannot expect them to have that level of understanding and spirituality that we have in this age. So one thing would be for elders to be there and to guide them, whatever they are facing. The other thing is to make them realize that whatever worship that they are doing, like the basics five salah that we have, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't need our prayers, right? He's the creator. He's the creator, he's the sustainer. He has so many angels who worship him all day long. He doesn't need our prayers. The prayer that we pray is for our benefit. It's not for Allah. So having that love for our religion, for our creator, and then the other thing that I said, for the people around them who are there for them, to constantly give them reminders and just letting them know that it's not whatever we do in this world, eventually it affects our afterlife.
Okay, I agree. How does community support, or maybe like the lack of it, shape your sense of belonging within Islam, and how might that affect teens?
Okay, community support. Say it again. Shape your what?
Or how does community support, or the lack of it, shape your sense of belonging within Islam, and how might that affect teens?
It's a very tricky question, because I teach at a Sunday school and I'm looking at this question from that perspective, because that would be considered community support, right?
Yeah.
So the teachers are there, the teachers are loving, they are caring, they genuinely want the kids to learn. Leave all the teachers, just talk about, I'll just talk about myself. So I am there, I am the community support. I want the kids to learn. And I and other teachers as well, we make sure that the kids, they don't feel like they do not belong here. And how do we do that is, like a lot of Muslim kids, they do Halloween, the trick or treating. So we don't call them out on that. Even if they're trying to share that with us, we just smile and just kind of, we don't appreciate them for that, because it gives others a very bad idea that, oh, that person said that they went trick-or-treating and my teacher was like so happy, and she was like, wow, you must have had fun. So that means that they might feel left out, right? So but because those kids, their parents are their home, they don't consider that's something that's against their religion. We just try to, just listen to them and have a very neutral reaction to it, so that others don't feel that we are endorsing it, and at the same time we don't make those kids feel that they are doing it. So I would say that the community support is there. Their sense of belonging actually needs to come from their parents and their house and their extended family, and the circle within their parents are moving. That is what is going to shape their identity. So, if, for example, if a parent has and you would see that this is actually a what would you call it? Like not really a trend, but you can see that people who have one kind of mentality or a thought process, they will befriend people who have the same kind of thought process. So, for instance, if a person who is invested in their religion, their religious beliefs, and they want their kids to have certain values while growing up, they're going to make sure that they befriend people who share the same values, so that their kids can mingle and they can be comfortable and confident around them. On the contrary, if there are parents who don't care about these values and they think that Islam and some of the things that are in the religion are like folktales, right? They do not apply to today's society or today's world. And so what if we put a Christmas tree in our house? So what if my kids, if they're just getting candy? You will see that they are surrounded by such friends and such family and such people only. So I would say that the sense of belonging very much depends on the parents and what's happening in the house as compared to the community aspect of it. Because these kids, they go to the masajid, these kids, they come to Sunday schools as well. But whatever their parents are following and whatever their parents say is right is what they will follow eventually.
What do you wish people understood about how struggle impacts faith?
What kind of struggle? Personal struggle?
Struggle in connecting with Islam, in trying to learn about it and feel more connected.
So for a teenager?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, young teenager. So how their struggles is going to impact their faith? Can you give me an example? For example? What kind of struggle is a teenager facing? And what do you think, how is it impacting them?
Yes, like their struggle is they don't grow up in a household where Islam is talked about enough, and then their iman is very weak. So kind of like that. So what do you wish people understood about that?
So Kiro, it's exactly how I said that, how we were brought up, right? We were in a Muslim household, but Islam was just fasting and your prayers, right? And we used to think that this is the be all and end all, and we're amazing Muslims that we do that. So definitely it impacts the faith. Absolutely. We used to think that we're such good Muslims until we started knowing what our religion actually wants from us. And it's not just fasting, and it's not just the 5 daily prayers. It's so much more than that. So definitely, we had a very weak faith because of that, because we were not practicing other aspects of our religion. So again, it comes down to that family unit, that if we want the kids to have that kind of mentality, to have that kind of closeness to Allah and their religion, it is something that they need to see around them in their elders. That includes grandparents and parents. So it would definitely be a struggle. For a young teenager, their brains are obviously not going to work like us. They're not going to go and read books themselves. They're not going to Google lectures themselves. Um, they are going to follow what they see. And even if they don't follow it now, down the lane, sometime in their lives, they start adopting those things that they have seen their parents do, even if they don't do it in their teenage years. So definitely people around them when they are growing up, it affects their faith. Yeah, and it's going to be a struggle for them.
Yes. When life becomes overwhelming or hard, what helps you hold on to your Islamic identity, or what makes it harder?
When life is overwhelming, the very first response that I have is that it's all from Allah. And if it's overwhelming, like if it's too overwhelming, I see it as a test. If it's just a little bit overwhelming, I think about others who have problems that are bigger than mine. And then Allah has said multiple times that He's going to test us. So I see that as a test, and I see that as an opportunity to be patient and earn hasanat.
Okay. What advice would you give to a teen who feels distant from Islam because of personal problems they're dealing with?
What kind of personal problems?
It could be family issues. It could be there may be mental health issues.
So, see, the thing is, we cannot expect a teenager to act like adults, right? It's the adults who need to realize what they are doing to these kids. If there is some mental stress, you can call it, or if the household, like if the parents are always fighting, or if the parents are like super close to being divorced, or anything of that sort, I think it's the adult's responsibility to create an environment for the kids where they feel safe. I would never expect a young, and you're saying a young teenager, so a young teenager is, I expect that you're talking about like 13, 14, 15, right? And not a 19. There's a big difference in their understanding. So I would not expect a 13, 14, 15-year-old to know how to emotionally regulate themselves. It's the parents who need to be there to teach them to do that. So again, the responsibility falls back on the parents, I would say. And that is the reason why Allah has given parents to us in the first place, right? And parenting is something that doesn't end when your child is, say, 25 or 30, or when they're married or when they're working. Parenting is a lifelong journey. Even if our kids, when they get married, we still have certain responsibilities that we need to fulfill. It's a lifelong it's a lifelong journey, parenting, and we need to be there for our kids.
Yeah. Do you feel Muslim teens today have enough safe spaces to talk about their doubts or their pain? Why or why not?
So since my kids are not of that age, I might not be able to answer the question like with 100% accuracy. But I would say that I've heard from the generation who came before us that their teachers used to be really invested in them. They were genuinely concerned about a child, their progress, their mental health. I personally never experienced a teacher who I could confide, I could talk to. So maybe that is a factor that's really decreasing with every passing generation. Teaching has become more of what would you say? Just a regular, like a job. It has become a job for people that pays. It is not what it used to be. A teacher used to be invested in her students, not just academically, but also personally connecting with the student and giving them tarbiyah, what we expect of parents. Teachers are actually, even in Islam, there's I think it's a hadith that your teacher, let me find it. that teacher are your parents in school, something along those lines. Let me see hadith about teachers. So Abu Huraira reported that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Verily, I am only like a father to you in the way I teach you." So, in the past, even from the perspective of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and then the pious predecessors that came after him, a teacher used to be a fatherly or a motherly figure for the kids. So it was not only restricted to the academic studies that the kids were doing. They would teach manners. They would tell the kids what's right and what's wrong, just like how a parent would do. So I would say that if we had those kind of teachers now, that would be a very safe space for Muslim students, and that's one thing that I really try to do with my students who are willing to connect. Is that I try to connect with them. I try to be like a second parent to them. That they're able to openly ask questions. And Alhamdulillah, I do have at least 2 to 3 students who can ask me any kind of questions, and I'm there to answer them.
Okay. What types of support do you think the Muslim community is lacking for young people who feel lost or disconnected?
Let me think. Lost or disconnected. I would again say compassion, love, just thinking of another child just like your own child. And if you see like a lost teenager, just always thinking about if that was your child, how would you respond? The thing is, as a community, now we have certain restrictions, right? It's not like maybe 50, 60, 70 years ago when community actually played a much more bigger role. There's an old saying which says it takes a village to raise kids, right? It's kind of an old saying now because people have become so, especially after COVID, nuclear family system is prevalent now. So a lot of people, they don't have any say in the upbringing of a child, right? So grandparents and the brothers and sisters of the grandparents, like nobody kind of intervenes now in anybody's life. They're like, okay, it's their life. Let them deal with their kids however they want. And people, it's kind of sad as well that we like I'll talk about myself because I'm in that age where I have little kids, and I wouldn't like anybody advising me, right, that this is the way you should be raising your kids. Although, Alhamdulillah, the way we are raising our kids is so much better than the advice that I get, because the kind of advice that I get is to not be so Islamic and not make my kids super religious because you live in America. How are your kids going to fit in to this? So ironically, it's a contrast for what I'm saying, because I go through something totally opposite to what a society should be doing for that teenager, right? But I would say just having that kind of compassion and having giving them spaces where they can have an open dialogue. But eventually, Aiza, I would say that all of these things, a parent should be doing that. A child should not be seeking a third person's advice or a third person's consolation if there is anything that is bothering them. Their parents should be their best friends, and they shouldn't be afraid of their parents to go and say anything to them. A parent needs to, in today's society especially, parents need to have that kind of relationship with their kids where they can just come to them and say absolutely anything without any fear of being judged.
And my last question is, in your experience, what small actions or moments have helped you rebuild or reconnect with your faith?
Actions and what?
Actions or moments.
Moments, okay. Okay, first of all, reminders are very important. When it comes to actions, I would say that we can, like for example, if a child has done Quran once, they've read Quran once, a lot of people think that, oh, my child has finished the Quran and the Quran is closed, put in a box and just put back up on the shelf, right? No. If a child has finished Quran once, Quran is not something that you need to just finish once in your life. You need to keep reviewing it, keep doing it. They need to do it every single day. You need to make sure that they're reading their Quran recital every single day. So actions and staying connected with the deen in any way. It could be a Quran class, it could be a tafsir class, it could be a translation class, it could be as small as you taking out 10 minutes before your kids sleep and give them one good reminder, one story of a prophet, one story of a sahabi. So always getting that reminder is one thing. I've started feeling. Remember, I talked about spirituality at the beginning of the interview. That just recently I've started feeling that connection within me. And I feel that the major part of it is the reminders that I'm constantly getting, the classes that I'm constantly taking, that I don't have a single moment to spare for anything useless. So I would say, in my experience, the action of staying connected with your deen through any means, any channel. It could be an online halaqa. It could be kids doing something at the masjid. It could be just one-on-one as well. Like if your child has a friend, you guys are reading maybe the same book, like a book club, and then discussing it in once a month. It could be anything, but just staying connected to the deen is very important.
Yes. And that's it. Jazakallah khair for your time and sharing your thoughts and experiences with me today.
You're welcome, Kiro. Wa iyyakum.